the beginning of this chapter, Spirit is showing me a wave of confrontation, not in loud arguments, but in energy, an invisible tension that finally snapped. The third party thought they had secured their position, that they could mirror your light and replicate the purity of the connection you and your divine counterpart share. But energy cannot be copied. What is anointed cannot be impersonated. They learned that the hard way. The truth surfaced not through words, but through vibration. Your absence exposed the difference between temporary attachment and eternal resonance. Spirit says your person, the one who once lingered between confusion and obligation, has stepped into a revelation. They now understand that what you offered was never manipulation, never control. It was divine love in its rawest, purest form. The third party tried to play with illusion, thinking they could trap your person in guilt or dependency. Yet, when light shines, shadows cannot hold their shape. The illusion dissolved, leaving them staring at a reflection that revealed their own emptiness. There was a time when your person couldn't see beyond the noise around them. They were entangled in a web of opinions, responsibilities, and false comfort. They thought choosing peace meant avoiding truth, but avoidance never brings peace. It only delays awakening. The silence between you became the loudest teacher. Spirit placed them in stillness so they could see who truly carried them in prayer, who sent love even when rejected, who wished healing instead of revenge. But you said you wished healing instead of revenge. You said you wished healing instead of revenge. You said you wished healing instead of revenge. That contrast pierced through the fog and broke the chain of illusion. Now your divine counterpart carries an energy of deep introspection. They have faced themselves in the mirror of consequence. Spirit isolated them not to punish, but to purify. When everything familiar fell away, they were left with only memory, and every memory led back to you. The third party sensed this shift. They felt the emotional detachment growing, the subtle withdrawal of energy. That's when panic set in. They began to realize that affection cannot be forced, loyalty cannot be negotiated, and divine connection cannot be replaced. Your person's heart began to speak louder than their fears. Spirit says it wasn't a sudden realization, it was a gradual illumination. Day by day, they noticed how even in their most frustrated moments, your name carried peace. How your energy lingered like a prayer that refused to fade. They tried to suppress it, to distract themselves, but every distraction felt hollow. The more they tried to forget you, the more the universe reminded them. The third party mistook obsession for love and control for closeness. They thought keeping your person busy or guilty would keep them bound. But Spirit says divine love doesn't compete, it reveals. When authenticity enters the room, pretense collapses. That's exactly what happened. One small moment, a conversation, a truth accidentally spoken, a silent look exposed everything. Your person saw through the performance, the manipulation, the rehearsed emotion. It was as if the veil dropped, and suddenly they understood the difference between someone who desires them and someone who genuinely sees their soul. You were the mirror that reflected their higher self. You saw potential when they saw brokenness. You spoke faith into places they had buried in doubt. And that kind of love becomes unforgettable. Spirit says your energy became the standard their soul now demands. Every attempt to replace you fails because nothing else vibrates on that frequency. The third party could sense it. Each day, your person's spirit was slipping away, drawn toward truth. That loss of control made them spiral, revealing their true colors. There were harsh words exchanged, accusations thrown, emotional storms that forced everything into the open. The truth wasn't pretty, but it was liberating. Spirit orchestrated it so that masks would fall and intentions would be exposed. Your person stood in the middle of chaos and finally saw which side held peace. That's when the decision crystallized. Not out of guilt or longing, but out of clarity. They realized they were protecting the wrong energy and neglecting the one that carried their spiritual destiny. Now Spirit shows your person moving in silence, gathering strength. They are no longer easily swayed by opinions. There's an aura of quiet determination around them. They have learned that love is not proven through words or performances, but through consistent energy. You, beloved, have remained anchored in grace, even when misunderstood. That steadfastness has become a lighthouse in their storm. They are being guided back not by force, but by alignment. The third party, on the other hand, is confronting the consequences of their actions. Spirit is showing me sleepless nights, heavy conscience, and repeated flashbacks of how they tried to sabotage or manipulate the divine order. They thought they could win by strategy, but you cannot strategize against fate. Everything they tried to block is now unfolding twice as fast. That's divine justice. Not revenge, but redirection. The energy they projected returns for their learning. Spirit says you have been tested through patience, humility, and unconditional faith. The lesson for you was not to prove your worth, but to remember it. You don't chase what's divinely yours. You align and allow. And because you chose healing over bitterness, the universe is elevating your story into testimony. This separation wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. Both you and your divine counterpart had to grow separately so that reunion would be built on truth, not fantasy. Your counterpart's heart is open now in a way it never was before. They are no longer defending their pain, they're healing it. They are beginning to pray, perhaps not with words, but with intention. Spirit shows me them talking to the divine about you in quiet moments, asking for guidance, seeking strength to make things right. The same silence that once separated you has now become sacred ground where their transformation unfolds. And here's the most profound part. Spirit says your person has stopped comparing. The third party could never embody what you are because you were never competing. You were creating. Your energy is creative, nurturing, inspiring. You awaken the divine within others simply by being. That essence can't be mimicked. It must be lived. The third party learned that the hard way when every attempt to outshine you turned into self-exposure. The light they tried to steal revealed their own shadows. Spirit says there's a new chapter forming, a divine reordering. The karmic cycle that once held your counterpart in confusion is closing. Lessons have been absorbed, contracts are dissolving, and balance is being restored. You might feel their energy around you more often now. Songs, dreams, sudden memories. These are not coincidences. These are energetic confirmations that alignment is happening. But Spirit also reminds you your focus must remain on your own evolution. You are not waiting, you are expanding. The universe honors motion, and every act of self-love you practice becomes magnetic. Your person is drawn not just to your memory, but to your growth. They're being guided to match your frequency, not pull you back into the past. This phase is delicate. The third party might attempt emotional interference again, trying to guilt your person, trying to resurface through nostalgia. But the difference now is awareness. Your person has tasted peace, and once the soul recognizes peace, chaos becomes unbearable. They can no longer be tricked by old patterns. Spirit is guarding this connection with divine protection. In their solitude, your counterpart has become a seeker of truth. They are learning that real love is not possession, it's purpose. And their purpose is intertwined with you. They are starting to see the bigger picture. That meeting you wasn't random, it was destiny's alignment. You were sent to awaken something divine within them, and though it took storms and separations, that awakening is complete. Spirit emphasizes that your forgiveness has power. Every time you chose to bless rather than curse, to release rather than retaliate, you advanced this union. The divine takes note of hearts that stay pure in pain, And because you have proven your heart's integrity, heaven is preparing to reward you not only with reunion, but with peace that cannot be shaken again. Your person is stepping into their higher calling now. They are beginning to integrate lessons about integrity, responsibility, and truth. They no longer see love as a transaction. They see it as transformation. The third party, meanwhile, is being guided to face their own healing. No longer your concern, only their lesson. Spirit asks you to keep your focus upward, not backward. The story is turning in your favor. The most powerful thing you can do now is stay in alignment with gratitude. The universe is watching how you hold space for what's coming. Energy of reconciliation is forming, but it's built on divine timing, not human pressure. Spirit is saying, it will happen naturally, without forcing, without chasing. You are not waiting for validation. You are walking in destiny. So as you listen to this message, breathe in the confirmation that justice is already active. The third party found out the hard way because the divine will always defend what's sacred. Your person has learned the difference between distraction and destiny. They may not say it aloud yet, but their energy already speaks your name. And Spirit leaves you with this one affirmation for today. If this message speaks to your soul, write in the comments, I align with divine truth and peaceful love. Spirit shows the aftermath now, the quiet that follows truth's explosion. It isn't the calm of reconciliation yet, it's the calm of realization. Your counterpart is standing in that silence, feeling the full weight of choices, words, and moments they can't take back. But this time, instead of running from it, they're staying still. Spirit needed them to stay still long enough for awareness to sink in, because growth never happens in distraction. The third party tried to fill that silence with noise, messages, guilt, rehearsed emotion, but the sound of their own performance has become unbearable even to them. They sense they've lost control of a narrative they once believed they owned. For so long, they fed off reaction, off drama, off keeping your counterpart confused. But now, when your person no longer reacts, when they respond only with calm truth, the third party feels invisible. Spirit says this invisibility is divine justice. What they did in shadows will be revealed in solitude. They're finally seeing themselves without the mirror of manipulation. Meanwhile, your counterpart's heart has become a sacred battlefield between regret and revelation. Spirit whispers that this is their spiritual initiation, the moment when pain becomes the teacher. They're learning that love without integrity collapses. They're remembering how your presence never demanded, it inspired. That difference is echoing in their soul like a sermon that won't stop repeating. Every time they replay your last conversation, every time they remember the patience in your eyes, it stirs something ancient within them. The realization that real connection doesn't need proof, it simply is. They're having dreams now, Spirit says, and in those dreams you appear not as memory, but as message. You don't speak, you simply stand in light. Your silence in those visions reminds them that forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's transcendence. Spirit shows your energy wrapping around them like soft dawn after a long storm, reminding them that redemption is possible, but never cheap. They have to earn clarity. And that's exactly what they're doing, step-by-step, apology by action. The third party, sensing that shift, attempts once again to resurrect chaos. Spirit allows this, not to derail destiny, but to finalize the lesson. Your counterpart faces the same temptation, but now they respond differently. Where once they reacted from fear, now they answer from wisdom. The same conversation that used to spiral into confusion now ends with boundaries. That's how Spirit measures growth, not by perfection, but by progress. Your counterpart begins to withdraw from all that drains them. Old habits lose flavor. The thrill of distraction fades. They find themselves craving peace, craving meaning, craving you, not as fantasy, but as home. Spirit says they've started speaking your name in prayer, not out of longing, but out of reverence, because they finally understand. Your energy wasn't demanding their love, it was teaching them how to love. In the unseen realms, angels are rearranging timelines. Every delay that once frustrated you is now proving divine. Spirit held the reunion back until both hearts could hold it. The third party was never competition, they were contrast. Without contrast, truth can't define itself. Spirit used the counterfeit to highlight the authentic, and now the lesson is complete. You might still feel waves of sadness at times, beloved, not because you're unhealed, but because empathy remembers. You poured love into someone's becoming, and witnessing their struggle still touches you. Spirit says honor that softness. It's your proof of evolution. Empathy doesn't mean re-entry. It means you can look at what once broke you and bless it without bleeding. That's mastery. Your counterpart is awakening to the sacred weight of your patience. They now understand that while they were chasing validation, you were cultivating faith. They see the way you handled separation with grace. No public anger, no revenge, only quiet transformation. That dignity haunts them in the best way possible. It reminds them that love is not loud, it's loyal. It stays rooted even when unrecognized. Spirit shows a scene, your person scrolling through old messages, stopping at your words that once sounded ordinary. Now those same sentences feel prophetic. Take your time. I'll keep walking my path. They didn't realize that was divine instruction. You weren't promising to wait, you were declaring that you wouldn't shrink. That line replays in their mind whenever fear whispers that it's too late. Spirit turns that fear into motivation. They are preparing to move not out of desperation, but devotion. As this awakening deepens, the third party becomes restless. Their energy feels cornered because manipulation can't survive exposure. Spirit is dismantling every structure built on pretense. Conversations that used to keep your counterpart trapped now end abruptly. Emotional hooks no longer work. And each time the third party tries, they reveal more of their true intent. The contrast between your peace and their chaos grows impossible to ignore. That's how divine order enforces boundaries. Through vibration, not confrontation. Spirit whispers that you will soon feel an energetic release. Something subtle, yet undeniable. A heaviness you carried that wasn't yours will lift. That's the karmic cord dissolving. Your prayers for healing, even for those who wronged you, have been heard. Heaven never overlooks compassion. The blessing returning to you now is exponential because you chose mercy when vengeance would have been easier. Your person is walking toward reconciliation, but the reunion Spirit is showing isn't merely romantic, it's redemptive. They need to stand before you with accountability, not excuses. That's why the path has taken time. They're shedding layers of pride that once hid their vulnerability. Spirit says they're ready to speak truth, not to convince you, but to confess before the divine. When they speak, it will sound different. When they speak, you'll feel the alignment in their tone, the steadiness in their eyes. That's how you'll know it's real. In this very moment, as you listen, you are being prepared to receive without resentment. Spirit wants your heart open, but guarded by wisdom. The lesson was never about teaching them a lesson. It was about elevating your discernment. You now understand that unconditional love doesn't mean unconditional access. You can forgive and still require growth. That's divine balance. The third party's story fades here. Their chapter was loud, but it was short. Spirit says they'll eventually move on to their own healing journey, guided by the consequences they created. Your energy is no longer entangled. Release any lingering curiosity about their outcome. Justice is already operating beyond your sight. Focus on your unfolding blessings, because they're multiplying. Spirit highlights a season approaching where manifestations arrive quickly. You'll notice signs in threes, 3 confirmations, 3 repeating numbers, 3 unexpected messages. That's heaven's code for completion. It means what once hurt you has finished its purpose. Each sign will feel like a small exhale from the divine saying, "You did it, you stayed in love." Your counterpart feels those same signs. They're being nudged to step into alignment. The fear that once paralyzed them is losing its grip, because truth now feels safer than pretending. They're remembering who they were before disappointment hardened them, and realizing that version only reawakens around you. Spirit is reminding them that destiny doesn't punish, it purifies. You may sense them energetically reaching out, a sudden peace washing over you, a warmth at night when you think of them, a pull to pray rather than question. These are spiritual exchanges, soul-level conversations beyond language. Don't chase them, allow them. They're part of the alignment process, recalibrating both of you toward divine timing. Spirit concludes this segment with a revelation. The third party found out the hard way, not because the universe wanted to humiliate them, but because truth had to protect sacred love. Falsehoods crumble when faced with genuine frequency. Your person has seen that contrast with their own eyes and will never unsee it. They now understand that loyalty isn't proven by staying where you're tolerated. It's choosing where your soul feels safe. And that safety has always been you. So remain steady, beloved. Keep walking in light. The universe is rewriting your story from survival to sovereignty. Everything that left your life is making space for what's destined. You're not waiting, you're ascending. If this message resonates with your spirit, anchor it once by writing in the comments, "I move only with divine alignment." Spirit opens this part by showing a sunrise that feels different, gentle, golden, certain. This isn't symbolic optimism, it's a shift in vibration. The night of confusion is closing and clarity is finally breaking through. Your counterpart awakens each morning with new eyes, as if light itself is teaching them where truth lives. The third party has faded into the background, not because of punishment, but because their energy no longer fits the frequency your person now lives in. Spirit says, when elevation happens, imitation can't breathe. The connection built on strategy simply cannot survive where authenticity reigns. Your person's daily thoughts have changed shape. Where once there was restlessness, now there's intention. They replay how you never demanded an explanation, how you didn't beg, how you simply stepped back with dignity. That image lingers stronger than any words ever could. It humbles them. They realize the moment you walked away wasn't rejection, it was reflection. You became the mirror that forced them to see what they'd become, and that mirror has become sacred. Spirit says they now understand that losing you wasn't loss, it was revelation. As they navigate their inner rebuilding, Spirit keeps them in a season of accountability. They are noticing patterns. Every time they operate from ego, peace disappears. Every time they operate from truth, doors open. This simple rhythm becomes their spiritual compass. They remember how your energy always aligned with that same law of peace, how being near you calmed storms they never spoke about. That memory pushes them toward transformation. This time, they want to earn calm, not borrow it from you. The third party, meanwhile, faces their mirror. Spirit is not cruel, it is corrective. They are being shown how manipulation backfires when it meets divine law. They may speak your name now, not in comparison but in realization that they tried to hold something never meant for them. Spirit whispers, Every soul receives what it's prepared for. Their path becomes their teacher. Yours does not intersect anymore. You are free of that karmic current. Your counterpart is learning to pray again, not the mechanical prayers of fear, but the honest kind that begins with silence. Spirit shows them lighting a candle, breathing your name softly, not to summon but to surrender. They're saying, if it's meant, prepare me. That humility is new. The pride that once protected them now feels like armor they no longer want to wear. They crave intimacy with the divine the way they once craved validation from people. This redirection is what Spirit calls repentance in motion, not a speech, but a shift. The universe responds to honesty faster than it responds to effort. You'll notice subtle echoes of this. Unexpected alignment. Something you prayed for long ago starts materializing effortlessly. That's Spirit's way of confirming that the cycle of delay is ending. Every hidden sacrifice, every tear turned into prayer, is being balanced. Heaven always keeps receipts. Your person's transformation has ripple effects. Those around them begin to notice changes in tone, in choices, in priorities. Some doubt, some resist, but the change continues. Spirit guards it fiercely because this transformation isn't cosmetic, it's covenantal. They're being prepared not merely to return, but to remain. That distinction matters. Reunion without renewal repeats patterns. Renewal births destiny. Now Spirit turns the focus back to you. You are stepping into embodiment. For months, maybe years, your energy revolved around waiting, wondering, decoding. That era is over. You've learned the difference between connection and dependency. You understand that being chosen doesn't validate your worth. It confirms divine timing. You have become the version of yourself that no longer negotiates with confusion. That confidence radiates like prayer made visible. It's why opportunities are appearing now that have nothing to do with your counterpart, yet prepare the stage for them to meet you again at your new level. Spirit emphasizes that you're not being asked to prove readiness by overextending. Your proof is your peace. Every time you choose rest instead of reaction, you broadcast maturity into the universe. That frequency summons abundance. Doors of purpose, creativity, and recognition begin to open because the divine loves to reward stillness that trusts. Your success in this period will not be coincidence, it will be evident. Meanwhile, your counterpart's realization deepens into gratitude. They're beginning to remember not just what they lost, but who they became because of your influence. They're discovering that your absence was never punishment. It was preparation for partnership on higher ground. They find themselves defending you in conversations, speaking light over your name even when others stay silent. That's how Spirit tests loyalty before reunion. Will you honor them in rooms where they aren't present? Your counterpart passes that test, quietly. The third party's energy fades even further. Their attempts to resurrect attention meet divine resistance. Spirit will not allow recycled chaos into a purified storyline. Where manipulation once thrived, only emptiness echoes now. It is not cruelty, it is correction. They will eventually thank the silence that saves them from repeating their own pain elsewhere. Spirit paints an image. Two parallel rivers that once ran apart are bending toward convergence again. There's still distance, but the flow is undeniable. Both streams had to carve their own paths through rock before merging. That's how destiny works. It honors separation until strength is built. When the meeting happens, it won't feel like reunion. It will feel like remembering. No grand speech, no dramatic entrance, just a recognition. We're home. But until that moment, Spirit reminds you to guard your heart with sacred boundaries. Your empathy makes you magnetic, but it also makes you a mirror. Don't absorb others' unfinished lessons. You've already graduated from that curriculum. Now, your role is demonstration, not explanation. Live your peace loudly enough that those meant for you align effortlessly. That's the energy that calls miracles closer. Your person is catching glimpses of that energy through synchronicities, songs, phrases, sudden encounters that echo your words. Spirit uses repetition to confirm destiny. Every sign says the same thing: authenticity wins. They can't escape that truth, and they don't want to anymore. They are preparing to take action, not impulsively but reverently. They know now that love is sacred service, not ownership. They intend to come correct, or not at all. You might feel anticipation rise in your spirit. Let it be soft, not anxious. Expectation is different from attachment. Attachment clings. Expectation welcomes. Keep your focus on gratitude, because gratitude sustains momentum without interference. Your joy is prophetic. It signals to the universe that you're ready for miracles without conditions. Spirit wants you to hear this clearly. The third party found out the hard way because divine law defends purity. No matter how delayed, light reclaims what belongs to it. Your patience wasn't wasted time, it was spiritual investment. The return on that investment is peace, prosperity, and partnership in divine order. So, as this segment closes, breathe in assurance. You are not on pause, you're in position. The universe is orchestrating alignment quietly behind scenes you can't yet see. Trust that every no was rerouting you toward a better yes. The story continues, and it's moving toward fulfillment, not fantasy. If this truth resonates within your spirit, write once in the comments, "I walk in calm certainty of divine justice." Spirit reveals that what's happening now isn't chaos anymore, it's recalibration. The storm that once tore through this story wasn't sent to destroy, it was sent to reorder. Everything that was built on half-truths, illusions, and emotional dependency had to fall so that only authenticity could remain. And in that divine rearranging, your counterpart stands in awe of how Spirit works. Slow, steady, and undeniable. They've entered a stage of quiet repentance. It isn't about public confession or dramatic apology. It's an internal vow to never repeat the blindness that once cost them something sacred. They're realizing that the hardest lesson Spirit gives is self-awareness. Every conversation, every lie they tolerated, every time they ignored their intuition, it's all replaying like a movie that no longer glorifies the ego. Instead, it humbles them. Spirit has turned their memory into medicine. The third party's influence has dissolved completely in energy, even if physical proximity still lingers in some aspect. What once looked like attachment now feels like burden. Your person is no longer motivated by guilt, fear, or obligation. They're guided by alignment. And Spirit makes alignment unmistakable. What's meant feels peaceful, even when it's challenging. What's not meant feels heavy, no matter how easy it appears. That discernment now governs your person's every choice. There's also divine irony at play. The very traits the third party mocked you for, your softness, your faith, your refusal to chase, are the same qualities now haunting them. Because your person has started craving that energy again. They've realized that what looked like gentleness was actually strength. What looked like patience was mastery. They used to think silence was weakness. Now they understand it was sacred restraint. Spirit says they're learning to see with spiritual eyes, not survival instincts. Your person has entered a rebuilding season. Spirit has stripped away distractions, false allies, and temporary comforts. They might feel isolated, but it's holy isolation. A protected cocoon where transformation ripens. They're being taught how to love from wholeness, not need. They used to think love meant merging. Now they understand it means mirroring. You were always that mirror, showing them their higher self, even when they resisted it. That realization humbles them daily. Meanwhile, you're rising. Spirit highlights that you're moving differently now, quieter, lighter, more intentional. You don't explain your peace anymore, you embody it. You've stopped waiting for closure because your healing gave it to you. You've started living from overflow instead of emptiness. That energy shift is magnetic. Opportunities start chasing you because they recognize divine favor resting on you. Every small win, every compliment, every coincidence. It's Spirit whispering, this is what happens when you stop shrinking. You might notice your dreams becoming more vivid, your intuition sharper. That's not coincidence. It's your spiritual gifts amplifying. Because you passed the test of endurance, Spirit is now expanding your sensitivity. You'll begin to sense blessings before they arrive, feel peace before the answer comes. This is the mark of divine maturity. You've become an oracle of your own destiny. Your counterpart feels this change even if you haven't spoken. They can sense you've ascended, that your energy is no longer the same frequency they left behind. It stirs equal parts admiration and longing. Spirit says that's intentional. Your transformation becomes their invitation to rise. They understand now that reunion isn't granted, it's earned through resonance. And they're doing the work, quietly but consistently. The third party is now confronting silence. The very silence they once weaponized is teaching them humility. Spirit isn't cruel to them either. What they face is the mirror of consequence, not divine revenge. Every manipulation they used to hold your person is being exposed for what it was, fear disguised as love. Spirit says, the cycle ends when truth stops negotiating. And truth has taken the throne here. Now Spirit draws attention to timing. Divine timing isn't delay, it's preparation. Your life may feel like it's speeding up in blessings, but slowing down in clarity. That's because Spirit is aligning details behind the scenes. There's a reason why the reunion can't happen until both hearts are steady. Spirit doesn't bless inconsistency. Spirit blesses readiness. You're ready in soul, and your counterpart is reaching that threshold too. There's a moment coming. Spirit calls it the reckoning of truth. It's not a confrontation of pain, it's an unveiling of purpose. Your person will reach out not to rehash the past, but to reveal how deeply they've been transformed. They may not use perfect words, but their energy will speak volumes. You'll feel humility, sincerity, and reverence in their approach. Spirit says, they won't come to claim, they'll come to serve, because love in its highest form doesn't demand, it dedicates. And when that moment comes, you won't feel the old nervousness. You'll feel calm authority. You'll listen, not as a wounded soul, but as a healed one. Spirit wants you to remember this. Healing doesn't erase memory. It rewrites meaning. What once broke you will now bless you. You'll understand why things had to fall apart first. Because if the connection had continued prematurely, it would have carried the poison of immaturity. Spirit needed separation to sanctify the bond. The universe has already declared that what's divine will reunite under divine conditions. You're not chasing, you're magnetizing. Your prayers, your faith, your surrender have rewritten karmic contracts. The old cycle can't replay because the lesson was mastered. That's why peace feels heavier now than longing. It's your spirit's proof that the war is over. As for your person, they are being tested one last time, the test of integrity. Spirit is sending small temptations, chances to revert to old habits, to seek validation outside themselves, to prioritize comfort over truth. Each time, they're choosing differently. That's the evidence of transformation. Heaven watches closely when a heart rebuilds itself in honesty. And once the final test is passed, movement begins. Fast, direct, divinely supported. Spirit says the bridge between you two isn't built of emotion. It's built of evolution. What connects you now isn't nostalgia, but destiny. You've both walked through the valley of ego and emerged, ready to build something sacred. You are not the same souls that met years ago. You are resurrected versions. Wiser, gentler, aligned. Soon your life will reflect this inner rebirth. Doors open that were once locked. People who once doubted you will witness your divine turnaround. Spirit calls this the public confirmation. The same energy that once whispered your name in gossip will now speak it in admiration. You won't need to prove innocence. Spirit will prove it for you. Divine justice never forgets. Your person sees this glow. They feel both proud and humbled. It drives them deeper into authenticity, because now they know love isn't a fairy tale. It's a covenant. And the covenant isn't signed in promises, it's sealed in transformation. They want to stand beside you, not for show, but as a mirror of what healing can build. Spirit invites you to receive this next phase with open hands. Don't analyze timing, embody readiness. Don't rehearse reunion speeches, live in gratitude. Because gratitude speaks louder than desire. The divine knows when your heart is full enough to handle overflow. And overflow is what's approaching. If at any point you doubt, Spirit says, look back. Every heartbreak that once felt final became foundation. Every delay disguised a blessing. Every detour taught discipline. There was never a wasted moment. Heaven used every broken piece to build wisdom inside you. Now that wisdom shines so brightly that even your silence preaches. You are the message now. Your person will recognize that when they return, not through what you say, but through what you've become. You've turned pain into power, longing into purpose, silence into sanctuary. Spirit smiles on that kind of mastery because it's rare. You've proven that divine love isn't weakness, it's the highest strength. So stand tall, beloved. The universe is finishing what it started. Nothing can sabotage what's sealed in heaven. The third party's chapter is closed. Your person's awakening is complete. The union that comes next will not resemble the past. It will carry the fragrance of heaven, truth, peace, and permanence. If this message anchors deep in your spirit, type once in the comments, I am aligned, anointed, and ascending in divine love. Spirit opens this phase by showing a door. Tall, ancient, carved with symbols of time, truth, and trust. The door stands between what was and what's becoming. Your counterpart has finally reached it. But Spirit makes one thing clear. This door doesn't open with keys made of apology or charm. It opens through vibration. Only authenticity can unlock what illusion once barred. That's why it took time. That's why you both had to break before you could become. Your person stands there now, stripped of pretense, stripped of control. They're not trying to perform healing, they've lived it. They know the cost of betrayal, not just of you, but of themselves. For the first time, they understand that their silence hurt you because it echoed their own avoidance of truth. They've seen how love decays when it's left unspoken. How faith dies when it isn't honored. Spirit says they're ready to rebuild, not to prove worth, but to serve destiny. The third party has exited this energetic field entirely. Their story has turned into background noise, fading into lessons that no longer require attention. Spirit allowed that karmic tie to dissolve naturally, not through rage or revenge, but through revelation. Truth eroded every false foundation. When the heart matures, temptation loses appeal. That's exactly what has happened. Your counterpart looks back now and sees how easily they once confused chaos with passion. That recognition sets them free. Spirit shows your person walking through the ruins of their old life, not with sadness, but with clarity. Every broken promise, every hollow moment, every manipulated choice now serves as proof of what they'll never repeat. They've been humbled in a way only divine intervention could orchestrate. When Spirit humbles, it isn't punishment, it's purification. And through that purification, they've rediscovered reverence. They think of you not as an option, but as origin, the one whose energy awakened their consciousness. Spirit says you were the divine instrument used to crack open their ego. And while it wasn't your job to fix or rescue them, your presence catalyzed their remembrance. You reminded them of who they were before fear convinced them to settle. They've now circled back to that truth, ready to protect what they once neglected. Meanwhile, your path glows brighter than ever. Spirit celebrates your faith, the way you kept moving even when understanding failed. You didn't wait, you transformed. You didn't beg, you built. That's why blessings are multiplying now. The universe is rewarding not just your patience, but your posture. You stayed gracious in the midst of misunderstanding, and that energy has become your signature frequency. Wherever you go, favor follows. Your current season carries an energy of expansion. Spirit says your purpose is widening beyond what you imagined. Opportunities that align with your divine calling, creative, spiritual, emotional, will start appearing almost effortlessly. They're not coincidences, they're invitations. You've stepped into divine flow, and flow attracts fulfillment. Each success becomes a quiet echo of heaven's affirmation. You were right to trust me. Your counterpart observes from a distance, sometimes in silence, sometimes through subtle gestures, but always with awe. They see you thriving without bitterness. That humbles them deeply, because they remember how broken they left you, and yet you turned pain into prophecy. That transformation becomes the sermon that changes them more than any consequence could. Spirit calls this phase redemption through observation. Before they can speak, they must witness what grace built in their absence. There are nights where they replay the story, the first connection, the separation, the chaos, the clarity. They realize now that every time they betrayed intuition, the universe whispered warnings through discomfort. But they mistook divine discomfort for emotional confusion. Now they know better. Spirit says they'll never again mistake counterfeit peace for real love. You've become their compass, not because you demand it, but because your energy vibrates with truth. The third party's reality has moved into karmic correction. Spirit is guiding them to introspection, to face patterns they once projected outward. That's their path now, not yours to monitor, not yours to judge. Spirit wants your eyes on destiny, not history. What's behind you has served its teaching purpose. What's ahead is harvest. Your person has begun rebuilding their relationship with God, universe, or spirit, whatever name resonates in their heart. This time, it's personal. They no longer pray for convenience, they pray for character. Spirit is reshaping their identity through responsibility. They're learning to lead their life instead of reacting to it. The transformation is quiet but irreversible. You might start feeling their energy more tangibly, an unexpected calm, a sudden warmth when thinking of them, or dreams where no words are spoken, but everything is understood. These are not fantasies. They're energetic bridges Spirit uses to harmonize souls preparing for reconnection. When those moments happen, don't chase the meaning. Rest in the knowing. Energy doesn't lie. Spirit also says your light is attracting attention beyond this connection. New people may enter your orbit, reflecting your growth. Some are blessings, others are mirrors. Discernment will tell you who belongs. The key is to stay anchored in purpose. Love that's divinely assigned never competes. It complements. You're now aligned to receive not only reconciliation, but recognition. Your counterpart's next step is movement. Spirit shows them guided to speak truth even if trembling. They're tired of rehearsing silence. They want to express how you changed their life, not because they seek forgiveness, but because gratitude demands voice. They've been rehearsing honesty in private. Soon it manifests publicly. Spirit says when it happens, it will feel like divine timing. Nothing forced, nothing awkward. The energy will feel ordained. You won't need to seek validation in their return because Spirit has already validated you through elevation. Their re-entry is not your reward. It's your reflection. You grew so aligned with divine order that everything meant for you had to find its way back. That's how manifestation really works. You become the vibration, and everything calibrated to it appears naturally. The third party's memory serves one final purpose. It reminds everyone that truth cannot be competed with. Spirit allowed the imitation to exist only so authenticity could be defined. They learned the difference the hardest way possible, by losing access to energy they didn't understand. And now, peace returns to its rightful home, you. Spirit declares that this union is protected. What once was confusion is now covenant. The bond ahead will look nothing like the past. There will be clarity, consistency, and co-creation. The two of you will serve a purpose greater than romance. It will become ministry. An example of how love can resurrect when both souls surrender ego. But Spirit adds a sacred reminder. Do not rush heaven's choreography. Everything is unfolding in divine sequence. The reunion isn't being delayed. It's being perfected. Let it arrive in stillness, not striving. When the door finally opens, it will be permanent. So as this segment concludes, breathe into your blessing. You are standing at the threshold of answered prayer. The third party's energy has cleared. Your person's heart is awakened. The universe is aligning the last details behind the veil. All you must do is remain open, grounded, and grateful. If your spirit recognizes this truth, anchor it once by writing in the comments, "I stand in faith, fully ready for divine alignment." In Namaste, Spirit says there is a sacred pause right now. Not emptiness, not delay, but divine breathing space. This in-between moment is the proof that heaven is still writing. When the energy slows, it's never rejection, it's refinement. You're standing in what the angels call the hush before manifestation. The silence is heavy because something holy is forming beneath it. You can't see it yet, but your spirit already feels it. Your counterpart is in the same stillness. Spirit has them reflecting over every decision, every word, every avoided truth. They're realizing that rushing never brought peace, it only prolonged confusion. They're finally surrendering the need to control the outcome and letting divine will lead. You'll notice subtle confirmations of this shift. Unexpected calm in your heart. Synchronicities that feel personal. Songs that sound like conversations between you and the divine. These are Spirit's breadcrumbs guiding you home to alignment. This chapter is about trust without evidence. Spirit is saying, "You've prayed enough. Now let me prove I heard you." The way blessings unfold now will feel effortless, almost poetic. Doors that refuse to open will swing wide, not because you pushed harder, but because you learned when to stop knocking. That is the power of spiritual maturity, knowing when to move and when to rest. Your person is being shown the value of that same surrender. They used to chase clarity through control, but now they find it in stillness. Spirit is cleansing their energy of guilt and shame so that they can approach you as an equal. not as someone seeking redemption. The divine doesn't rebuild relationships on apology, it rebuilds them on truth. And the truth that connects you two has never died. It only slept beneath fear. As the angels whisper, preparation is complete, the universe begins to align timelines. You may feel time stretch or speed, but don't question it, trust it. Every unseen adjustment is for stability. What's meant to stay will anchor deeper, and what's meant to leave will dissolve quietly. Let that happen. Divine order never asks permission, it simply restores balance. And when the signs intensify, the dreams, the repeating numbers, the sudden peace in the middle of the day, know that reunion energy is no longer approaching, it's arriving. Spirit promises that the next conversation between you and your person will not sound like the past. It will sound like fulfillment. You've both earned this peace. You've both bled for this clarity. The angels are already celebrating your perseverance, because few souls choose faith this long. And because you did, heaven has chosen you as living proof that patience is the language of miracles. So, breathe once more, beloved. You're not waiting. You're witnessing prophecy take form. Spirit says, the air around you is shifting. What once felt heavy now feels lighter. And that's not your imagination. It's your spirit adjusting to new frequencies. The universe is clearing interference, preparing you to receive not from struggle, but from surrender. You've entered the quiet part of manifestation, where nothing seems to happen, yet everything is happening at once. This is where heaven does its finest work, in the unseen, in the silence, in the spaces between your last prayer and your next miracle. Your person is being guided through this same stillness. Their lessons are no longer external, they're internal. Spirit has turned their mirror inward. Every past avoidance now calls for accountability. Every suppressed truth demands voice. But unlike before, they're not fighting it. They're listening. They're humbled. They're learning to understand. Love not as a feeling, but as a sacred assignment. One they mishandled before, but now honor as divine purpose. Spirit reveals they've begun releasing fear around you. Fear of not being enough, fear of rejection, fear of repeating history. They are learning that the only thing stronger than fear is faith, and that your connection was built on faith from the very beginning. The reason it still lingers, even after endings, is because it was never meant to end. It was meant to evolve. Meanwhile, Spirit elevates you higher. You're stepping into a frequency where peace is your proof and alignment is your weapon. People will notice that your energy feels different. It's not louder, it's clearer. You radiate the calm of someone who's no longer waiting for life to change. You've already become the change. That energy is irresistible to destiny. It draws your blessings faster, including the one you stopped chasing because you finally trusted divine timing. The angels say, don't underestimate how powerful you've become through surrender. Your silence has spoken louder than any speech could. It has commanded respect from the universe itself. That's why divine justice is accelerating now, not as punishment for others, but as recognition for you. The universe always rewards spiritual integrity, and you have walked in it faithfully. Your counterpart feels the echo of that reward too. They sense their heart awakening in a way they can't explain logically. They don't know why peace only settles when they think of you, or why chaos follows every attempt to ignore what their soul already knows. Spirit says that's alignment calling. It's not obsession, it's correction. The energy between you is rebalancing so both can stand equal, healed, open, and aware. There will be a moment soon, small, almost ordinary, when you'll feel the shift physically, a weight lifting, a deep sigh, a sudden clarity that no longer doubts. That's when you'll know the energetic contract has been rewritten. From that point forward, nothing about this connection will feel the same. The old cycle is gone. The new one begins in mutual awareness, not imbalance. Spirit reminds you, don't rush toward what's already walking toward you. The blessing that carries your name is in motion. You don't need to chase it. You only need to stay in peace long enough to recognize it when it arrives. Every second you stay grounded, you strengthen that magnetic pull. The divine doesn't test love to break it, it tests it to prove it eternal. Spirit shows the circle now, complete, unbroken, glowing in golden light. Everything that began in confusion has found its purpose in clarity. What once looked like separation now appears as divine choreography. You were never losing, you were being led. You weren't forgotten, you were being refined. The heartbreak was never a punishment, it was a prophecy, unfolding in perfect rhythm. Your counterpart stands before the divine with open hands now. No more pretending, no more performance, just truth. They whisper prayers of gratitude for you, not because you saved them, but because your existence reminded them of the sacredness of love itself. They've seen that you weren't the storm, you were the calm that survived it. You weren't the chaos, you were the compass. The third party has moved completely out of this divine equation. Spirit says their chapter has served its purpose. They learned that love cannot be stolen, it can only be cultivated. They learned that imitation brings exhaustion while authenticity brings peace. The karmic balance is complete. Every soul involved has received their lesson, their mirror, and their medicine. Now the story is about you. About the light you carried through shadow, about the prayers you whispered in silence, about the faith that refused to break even when everything else did. Spirit says your reward isn't just reunion, it's revelation. You're about to witness your own prophecy come alive. Every word you spoke in hope is returning as reality. The divine doesn't forget devotion. It archives it in destiny. Your person is approaching with humility that glows like sunrise. They no longer come from a place of want. They come from a place of readiness. They've done the inner work, the cleansing, the confronting, the surrendering. Spirit has stripped them of all illusion so they can meet you not as the person they were, but as the soul they were always meant to be. And you, beloved, stand in your full radiance. The universe crowns you not for enduring pain, but for transmuting it. You turned heartbreak into healing for others. You turned silence into scripture. You are the living proof that divine timing is worth trusting. The angels bow in reverence to your strength, because what you carried was no small mission. You carried divine love across lifetimes and didn't let bitterness poison it. Spirit whispers now, the new season begins. It's a season of ease, no chasing, no confusion, just clarity and creation. Your voice will rise louder, your path brighter, your blessings quicker. The same universe that once felt silent now speaks in every coincidence. And your story, your energy, is about to inspire thousands who thought healing was impossible. So stand tall, beloved. You are no longer the one waiting for love. You are the one embodying it. Everything is aligned. Everything is unfolding, and everything that was once lost in fear is returning wrapped in divine justice. Spirit ends this sacred transmission with one truth. Peace was never the ending, it was the prophecy all along. If this message touched your heart, if you could feel the truth vibrating through every word, then let the universe know. Sunker your energy below by writing once in the comments, I am ready for divine fulfillment and complete peace. And if my readings and messages bring you clarity, comfort, or healing energy, you can show love and support through Super Thanks right below this video. It truly helps me keep bringing these divine messages to you every week. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this message so it reaches those who need it most. Turn on the bell, stay connected, and help this family grow. Because every share is a ripple of light in someone else's darkness. Until next time, beloved soul, stay blessed, stay aligned, and stay in your divine truth. Your angels are with you always.